My girlfriend said, "My best friend is staying in my condo for a while. Stop acting threatened." I said, "I'm not threatened. I'm done." Then I handed her friend his overnight bag, opened the front door, and told him he had 5 minutes to leave my property. She laughed at first. She stopped laughing when the police told him I was serious. Original post. I'm Nalan, 33, from Charlotte, North Carolina. I work in risk compliance for a regional bank, which is a boring way of saying I spend all day finding problems before they become expensive. I like things documented. I like clarity. I like knowing who has access to what and why. That matters here. My girlfriend, Paige, is 29. She does freelance brand strategy and social media consulting, which means she can work from anywhere and has the kind of personality that makes boundary sound like a personal insult. We were together a little over 2 years. She'd been living with me in my condo for 14 months. Important detail, the condo is mine. My name is the only one on the deed. My name is on the HOA documents, utilities, insurance, everything. Paige contributed to groceries and some utilities, but this was never a shared property situation. I bought the place 3 years before I met her. That also matters. For most of our relationship, I thought we balanced each other out. I was steady, she was spontaneous. I planned ahead, she made life feel less rigid. That's how I described it when people asked. What I should have said was this: I handled logistics, and she called that love. I paid the mortgage. I bought the furniture. I set up the office she sometimes used for her client calls. I replaced the washer when it died. I covered a surprise dental bill for her once because she was between big client payments. None of that bothered me at the time. When you love someone, you don't keep score. But eventually you notice when only one person is doing math. The problem had a name: Derek. Derek was Paige's best friend. 31. Chronically between jobs, chronically between apartments, chronically in need of one more favor. He had a man bun in 2026, which should tell you enough, but I'll keep going anyway. Paige insisted there was nothing weird there. They'd known each other since college. He was family. He was misunderstood. He was going through a rough patch. Apparently Derek was always going through a rough patch in exactly the direction of other people's couches. I tolerated him. Barely. He had a way of touching things in my home like he was testing ownership, picking up my watch, using my espresso machine without asking, sitting in my office chair and spinning in it during parties like he was 12. Every time I said something, Paige rolled her eyes and told me I was being uptight. Then came the Thursday night that ended everything. I got home around 7:15. Long day. Quarter-end review. I walked into my condo and saw a navy duffel bag by the entry bench, a pair of men's sneakers under my console table, and Derek in my kitchen pouring sparkling water into one of my whiskey glasses. Not plastic. Not a tumbler. My whiskey glass. He smiled like I'd arrived late to something I was hosting. "Hey man," he said, "hope it's cool. I'm gonna be here a few days." I just looked at him. Paige came out of the hallway wearing my gray hoodie. "Before you start," she said, holding a hand up, "Derek's lease fell through and he needs somewhere to stay for a little while." I said, "You moved someone into my condo without asking me." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Moved in is dramatic," she said. "He's staying in the guest room." I looked at Derek. "Take your bag and go." Paige stepped between us immediately. "Stop. Acting. Threatened." That was her word. Threatened. Like I was jealous, like this was insecurity, like the problem wasn't that a man I didn't trust was standing in my kitchen with a bag in my house because my girlfriend had made a decision about my property without me. I said, "This isn't about being threatened, this is my home." Paige crossed her arms. "Our home." "No," I said, "you live here, I own here, those are different things." That should have been the moment she realized she was overplaying her hand. Instead, she doubled down. "He's staying," she said. "And if you're going to make this into some weird macho thing, maybe I need to rethink who I'm building a future with." Derek said nothing. Just stood there pretending to be uncomfortable while not moving an inch toward the door. That's what people like him do. They let other people create the conflict, then they benefit from the confusion. I looked at both of them for a few seconds and felt something inside me go completely still. Not angry, not loud, just finished. I said very calmly, I'm not threatened, I'm done. Paige smirked. She actually thought I was bluffing. Done with what? She asked. With this, I said. With you deciding what happens in my home and then insulting me when I object. She gave me that familiar little head tilt she used whenever she thought she was the smartest person in the room. Nalan, she said, you're being dramatic. I walked to the entry bench, picked up Derek's duffel bag, handed it to him, opened the front door and said, you have 5 minutes to leave my property. Paige stared at me like I'd broken script. Derek tried the usual move. Come on, man, let's not do this, I said. We're already doing it. Paige stepped forward, voice rising. You can't throw him out like this. I can, I said, and I am. Then she said the sentence that killed whatever tiny chance she had left. If he leaves, I leave, I nodded once. Okay, she blinked. That shook her more than anything else, not yelling, not arguing. Agreement? You don't mean that, she said. I do. For the first time, Derek looked nervous. Paige switched tactics fast because that's what she always did when force didn't work. She softened her tone. Babe, you've had a stressful day. Let's just eat, calm down, and talk. No, I said. You don't get to install a house guest and then offer me a debrief in my own kitchen. Derek set the glass down. Paige looked at him, then back at me. Then she made one last play. You'd really end a 2-year relationship over one favor for my best friend, I said. No, I'd end it over the fact that you think disrespect becomes reasonable if you call it kindness. Silence. Derek grabbed his bag. Paige hissed, don't go, he's trying to control this. I pulled out my phone and said, you have 3 minutes now. That's when Derek made the mistake that finally gave me the clean line I needed. He said, I'm not leaving because your girlfriend told me I could stay, I said, and the property owner is telling you to leave. He looked at Paige again. Wrong move. I hit call, not 911. Non-emergency. I told them I had an unwanted guest refusing to leave private property after permission had been revoked. Calm voice. Clear details. No drama. That was the first moment Paige realized I had already gone past the stage where feelings mattered more than facts. She started crying, not because she felt bad, because the scene had moved out of her control. Derek muttered something about me being insane, picked up his bag and left before the officers arrived. Paige stood in the middle of my living room shaking with anger. You humiliated me, she said. I laughed at that, not loudly, just once. You moved a man into my condo and called me threatened. Let's be careful with the word humiliated. She slept in the guest room that night. I locked my office and my bedroom before I went to sleep. At 800 the next morning, I called an attorney. I wanted the cleanest legal way to remove her. No games, no gray area, no touching her things, no changing locks while she was out, no stupid mistake that would give her leverage later. By noon, I had a formal written notice prepared based on the attorney's advice for my state and situation. 30 days. Clear language, documented delivery. I also removed her garage opener access, changed all financial passwords, canceled the extra keycard I'd issued months earlier, and moved my important documents to my brother's house. Then I handed her the notice. She read 2 lines and looked at me like she'd never met me before. You're evicting me. I'm ending your permission to live here, I said. Legally, properly. In writing. She threw the paper on the counter. Over Derek, I said. No, over you. That weekend was ugly. She called me cold, controlling, petty. She called her sister. She called 2 mutual friends. She posted one of those vague stories online about men who weaponize security when women show compassion. I didn't respond online. I just sent screenshots and a short summary to the 3 people whose opinions I actually cared about. One of them was her sister, Lauren. Lauren called me that Sunday. Her first sentence was, "She really brought Derek to your condo without asking." Yes, Lauren was quiet for a second. Then she said, "That's insane." I said, "I know." Then she gave me the piece of information that made the whole thing somehow worse and also simpler. Apparently this wasn't Derek's first temporary stay. He had done this with another couple in Raleigh the year before. Show up in crisis. Stay too long. Create tension. Let Paige defend him. Repeat. So no, this wasn't compassion. It was a pattern. Paige spent the next week trying every version of reality she could think of. Version 1, I was jealous. Version 2, I hated her friends. Version 3, I was punishing her for being independent. Version 4, I was having some kind of breakdown because work had stressed me out. What she never tried was the truth, which was that she gambled my patience against her importance and lost. Update 1. About 10 days after I gave her the notice, I came home and found Derek in my condo again. Not overnight bag this time. Just sitting on my couch, eating takeout, shoes off, controller in hand like he paid HOA dues. I stopped in the doorway and said, "No." Paige looked up from the kitchen island. "He's visiting." I said, "He's leaving." Derek rolled his eyes like we were all tired of my boundaries. "Man, relax, I'm not staying." I took out my phone and started recording, not hidden, right in front of them. "State your name," I said to Derek. He laughed. "What?" "State your name," I repeated, "because I'm documenting that you're back on my property after being told you're not welcome." Paige snapped. "You are unbelievable." I said, "Actually, I'm consistent." Derek stood up then, suddenly less casual. "You don't have to be a psycho about it. You don't have to keep coming to a place where the owner has told you not to come," I said. He left in under 30 seconds. That recording ended up mattering because Paige later tried to claim I had made up concerns about him hovering around the property. I hadn't. That same week, she attempted another move. She asked if I would let her stay an extra month because finding the right place takes time. A month earlier, I probably would have folded. I would have wanted to be fair. I would have worried about looking harsh, but fairness without respect is just volunteering to be used, so I said no. She cried again, said I was abandoning her, said after everything we'd built, she deserved better. I said, "You were given a peaceful home, trust, patience, and 14 months of stability. Don't talk to me about what you deserved after blowing that up yourself." She moved out on day 28, not gracefully. She took the air fryer she hadn't bought, 2 sets of towels my mother gave me, and one of the framed prints from my hallway. I documented all of it and sent one calm text listing what needed to be returned. Lauren brought the print back the next day and apologized for her sister. The towels and air fryer were apparently not worth the argument to her, which honestly told me all I needed to know. I changed the locks the hour after Paige turned in her keys. Then I sat in my own living room for the first quiet evening in a month and realized how tense I'd been for much longer than that. The condo felt like mine again, which is a strange thing to notice in a place you own. Final update. It's been a little over 3 months. Paige moved into a studio across town. Derek, from what I heard, stayed with her for 2 weeks, contributed nothing, and then disappeared to whatever apartment, couch, or rescue mission was next. So that ended exactly how anyone with a functioning frontal lobe would have predicted. She tried contacting me twice after the move out. The first time was to ask if we could have closure over coffee. No. The second time was to say she'd learned a lot and wanted to explain what she had been going through emotionally. Also no. Closure is not a meeting. Closure is the end of access. I repainted the guest room and turned it back into my office. I replaced the cheap lamp Derek somehow managed to break during his brief reign as freeloading prints of my sofa. I upgraded the locks, cleaned out closets, donated a bunch of stuff Paige had left behind after the legal window passed, and got back to sleeping normally. A funny part, if there is one, is that several mutual friends quietly reached out after everything ended and said versions of the same sentence. "We thought you were more patient than we would have been." That used to sound like a compliment. Now I hear it differently. Patience is a good thing right up until it becomes permission. That was my mistake, not loving her, not helping her, not trying. My mistake was confusing tolerance for maturity. A lot of people think the dramatic part of a breakup is the yelling, the slammed doors, the speeches, the revenge. It isn't. The dramatic part is the moment one person realizes the other person is completely serious. That Thursday night, Paige thought she was testing how much I'd bend. What she actually learned was where I stop. And I think that's the real lesson here. People will call you cold the minute your boundaries start costing them convenience. That doesn't make you cruel. It just means the free ride is over.